What up, everybody? What up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of AC Reviews the World. I'm your host, AC the Engineer, and we are at episode 182. 182. Hopefully, everybody had a good weekend. It is Monday, May 4th, 2026, year of our Lord, and it's time to get to the greatest afternoon show in the world. You ain't got to believe it, but I believe it. That's all that matters, y'all. But hopefully, everybody had a good weekend, like I was saying. I did. Went to go see that new Michael Jackson movie, which was top tier. Do wish it got more into his older life, but go and watch the movie. Check it out. It is a good movie. But you know how I like to do it. Welcome back. Remember, y'all, this is a show where we go over 4 or 5 topics every single day, Monday through Friday, starting at 6 o'clock. And just things that I found that we need to review together. The best way to show your support is always just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. And if you ever disagree with anything I say, please leave a comment. I'm never going to say I understand everything, but I'm willing to talk about it. Let's have a discussion. That's what's wrong with the world today. But you know how I like to do. Let's jump right into it. The first topic we're discussing today is we got to go back over to Spirit Airlines, which has officially shut down. And has had an effect of where approximately 17,000 people have lost their jobs. 14,000 are direct Spirit employees. But we're gonna get over into it, see what all this is about, and then of course we're gonna hear a little something about from the Spirit employees to see what their thoughts are. But let's jump over into it and see what we can find out, y'all. Remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Let's jump over into it.
Spirit Airlines' sudden closure. We're joined now by senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve. He's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where Spirit was based. The signage still up, but the airline is no more. Chris, good morning.
Well, good morning. You have tens of thousands of stranded Spirit flyers that are still trying to make their way home on other airlines. And while we've been standing here today, one Spirit flyer walked into the terminal with her bags, thinking she'd be able to get on her flight this morning, not knowing the airline had shut down. She's now scrambling to find another way home. And throughout this airport, you see signs like this telling people that Spirit has ceased operations. But, you know, Errol, this is Spirit's mothership. This would be a super busy area on any other Monday morning. Look at it now. It's so quiet you can hear the music playing. It's utterly deserted.
Some people don't pay attention to the news, but I can't imagine pulling up for my flight always 2 hours before, like I usually do, and then I just look to see that the whole airline, not just the planes are delayed, no, the whole airline is done. Nah, but let's keep going into this.
At airports across the country,
it's like a ghost town.
The impact of Spirit Airlines' collapse is hard to miss.
I actually woke up at like 2:38 this morning, and I'm like, I'm gonna check. Oh, it's canceled.
Empty ticket counters, closed kiosks, parked planes.
Like, I was like, is this a joke? But it's real.
And tens of thousands of travelers scrambling for a new way home.
Having to find a flight that's able to accommodate us. For people that don't have the money, that can be a bit frustrating.
Spirit struggled for years, but the surge in fuel prices since the start of the war in Iran left the airline burning through cash. At President Trump's suggestion, the federal government offered a $500 million aid package, but Spirit bondholders balked at the terms. Talks stalled, and the airline ran out of money. A Spirit creditor thanked the administration for its efforts, but told me you can't breathe life into a corpse.
Losing a low-fare airline is never good.
Airline analyst Henry Hartevelt.
So without Spirit, there's just that much less price competition, and even the budget airlines are probably going to try to raise fares where they can.
Spirit's final 2 flights landed in Dallas early Saturday morning.
I feel sad, worried, because it's like my bills is going to come. How are we going to pay it?
Flight attendant Miguel Quiones was working a trip Friday. He learned after landing in Philadelphia, he and about 7,500 other Spirit employees were out of a job.
You've lost the job you loved.
Yeah. The day that that happened, I was like destroyed. I think about it, and I was crying the whole time, and crying for me and all my coworkers. You know.
Now, I do wonder if the employees had some kind of inkling that this was going to happen from inside, because you know the inside people usually have a better understanding of the company's dynamics, or you should. Did they feel anything? Did hopefully some people were preparing for the possibility, interviewing with jobs, and not just left on their hands and knees? But let's keep going into this.
Spirit says it has processed the majority of credit card and debit card refunds. The remaining are in the process of being done. Now, the airline CEO defended Spirit's decision to continue accepting bookings well into last week, saying he really believed the airline was going to get a financial lifeline to be able to continue operating. Instead, it is pivoting to starting to liquidate its assets, Errol.
Now, one of the most important things we got to remember is that because of Spirit Airlines closure, that this is for everyone else is going to mean higher prices with flights. It's something that we have to accept. Supply and demand, simple economics. But let's keep going and see more about how the employees feel about it.
Off the top at noon, gathering to say goodbye. Spirit employees come together just days after the airline shut down to support each other through this sudden change in their lives. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I'm Naja Sherman. Even at this hour, some passengers are currently stranded and don't know how they're going to get home. CBS News Miami's Morgan Reiner is your reporter live at the former headquarters. She's been following this story and has the very latest on what people are experiencing right now.
Yeah, right now, there are actually more than 100 Spirit employees that have made their way to the front of headquarters over there. Brian's going to zoom in and you'll see that's why there are deputies further down the road. Security did tell media to stay behind, but those employees did tell us when Spirit closed, they lost everything, their pay and health insurance. And as you mentioned, travelers are still scrambling to adjust their plans. Nadine showed up for her flight out of FLL Monday morning. The only problem, she was booked on Spirit. Now she says she's not sure what to do. She had heard rumors that Spirit was shutting down, but she never received an alert from Spirit, so she showed up assuming all was well. Former Spirit employees who showed up outside of headquarters in Dania Point Monday said they didn't even receive an alert.
Officially, we found out through the media.
Spirit CEO says there was no alternative to shutting down, blaming the sudden and sustained rise in fuel prices. But Republicans blame the Biden administration for blocking Spirit's plan to merge with JetBlue. William Roman worked as a flight attendant for 10 years with Spirit Airlines.
When you work for an airline, it's not like another job. You don't get to start over and take your experience with you. You start right back at the bottom.
But even if everyone was okay starting at the bottom, Roman says there aren't enough positions open at other airlines.
Now you can't just go to another airline because there's very limited jobs. The portals close very quickly from the time that they open. So even now, with as many flight attendants as they are without jobs, I don't even see half of them getting jobs.
Dorothy O'Connor said she's worried about insurance. She says employees lost coverage effective immediately.
Saturday, you stop at 2:18, you send the email to all of us, and your insurance was finished at 11 o'clock that night. No way. No way. You don't treat us like that.
Now, other airlines like JetBlue and United are offering discounted flights for impacted Spirit customers.
Now, he made a specific mention to mention the flight attendants, because I was thinking TSA is highly valued. At least that's what I would think. But there's only so many planes, and a flight attendant is I would think is a very desirable job. I'm not sure about the pay, but I would think that there's a lot of people wanting to be flight attendants. And now just a bunch of them open up, they have nowhere to go, and they have to shift their whole perspective. And that's going to be a hard for a lot of people who put so many years into the airline. Let's keep going into this.
JetBlue said they're expanding flights out of Fort Lauderdale to help Spirit Airlines passengers, and they said that they are matching any loyalty status. And while there are more than 100 employees standing in front of headquarters right now, Spirit employed 17,000 people that are now without work. For now, I'm live in Dania Beach. Morgan Reiner, CBS News, Miami.
17,000 immediate out of the job. Hopefully some of them, like I was saying before, some of them hopefully had a backup plan. But we know a lot of people probably didn't. Let's get over into this last video and see what else they're telling us.
Let's start with Local 10's Linny Supal. She is live at the airline's headquarters in Dania Beach. Linny.
Good morning. They gathered and they marched all the way to company headquarters, fueled with frustration. Their jobs terminated without any notice, and now they want answers.
There's no severance. Our insurance, everything was cut off on May 2nd.
Laid off and left without answers. Spirit Airline employees gathering outside company headquarters in Dania Beach Monday, still reeling after the surprise announcement over the weekend when the company shut down for good.
It wasn't until midnight on Friday night that we learned, when we see the board with no flights for the next day, that we were done for that day.
The abrupt closure creating a frenzy nationwide, catching employees and travelers off guard. All flights grounded by 3 a.m. Saturday. 17,000 people across the country now without jobs, including thousands of workers based here in South Florida. The impact widespread.
This is not like any other industry. You do not take your work experience with you. You start right back at the bottom. So if you've been here 30 years, it means nothing. Myself, 10 and a half years, means nothing. You start right back at the bottom with the lowest pay, lowest seniority.
This is the layoff notice Spirit sent to all staff Saturday, stating the company will be permanently closing all of its operational locations. The ultra low-cost carrier collapsing amid rising jet fuel prices, intense competition, and debt. The company filing for bankruptcy twice in as many years.
There's a lot of people that are going to struggle, and there's no way around that. There's just not enough jobs in this industry for the type of work that we do.
Not enough jobs for what they do. It's a tragic struggle. Let's get over into an AI breakdown just to find out a little bit more information and just to piece everything together. So as we know, Spirit Airlines officially closed at 3 a.m. on Saturday, May 2nd, 2026. It resulted in the immediate loss of approximately 17,000 jobs. This figure includes 14,000 direct Spirit employees and thousands of additional contractors. Many employees reportedly learned of the total shutdown only hours before. The airline cited failed efforts at the government resource deal. All flights were canceled immediately, leaving passengers stranded and employees, including flight attendants, pilots, scrambling to return home from various bases. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Imagine they just sent you over somewhere else, and now you can't even get your normal flight home. Now you definitely got to pay something. In the wake of the collapse, several major carriers, government agencies have stepped in to assist the displaced workers. So airlines such as American and United have established dedicated job portals and offered preferential interviews to Spirit team members to help them find new employment quickly. Now, you heard what one of the employees said. He said the portals be closed. So I'm assuming that's what he was talking about. The Department of Transportation announced that most major U.S. carriers are extending travel pass benefits and spare jump sets to help Spirit pilots and flight attendants return home. The CWA is urging the federal government for emergency supplement to state unemployment benefits and to ensure workers are paid for earned vacation time. You lost, oh my God. Everything's gone. Medical, all the benefits that you saved up for your paid time off. God. The shutdown hit several major hubs particularly hard. Florida, as the company's home state, Florida saw over 4,000 layoffs, including roughly 2,500 at Fort Lauderdale and nearly 800 in Orlando. And then other hubs, thousands of jobs were also lost at major centers in Las Vegas, New York, and New Orleans. It's going to be hard for them. It is going to be hard for them. Hopefully, some of them have something in mind or a backup plan in mind to do to make something shake. But you got to do something. You cannot be out of a job too long, especially in this type of economy that we're in now. It's a sad fact. The war, and it's ultimately caused by the war. But the question is, would this have happened eventually? Now, prices are going to keep rising. But was the rise just too big and they could have sustained it? Let me know your thoughts on that situation, y'all. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Absolutely tragic. But it's not only airline stuff we got to talk about. We got a United flight that ends up hitting a truck, and it's all caught on dash cam. Let's get over into it and see if we can find out about this flight and what exactly went wrong. Remember, y'all, the best way to show your support is always just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. Let's jump into it.
It was just after 2 o'clock. The driver of this bakery truck singing while driving down the New Jersey Turnpike when something catches his eye at the passenger window. A United flight about to land at nearby Newark Airport was coming in low and hit a light pole. The pole then crashing into his truck. He was injured from the shattered glass, but is okay. The plane was also damaged before taxiing to the gate.
Yeah, they felt something over the threshold, and there's a hole in the side of the airplane.
This aircraft was literally inches from disaster. The NTSB will look at various things, but one of the things they'll look at is the crew performance. But really what they're going to look at is why that aircraft was not stabilized on its approach and why somebody in that cockpit did not say, go around, this is dangerous.
Holy, oh my goodness.
Video from the ground shows the plane moments later, people in their cars shocked at what they saw.
Did you see all that wind? Oh my goodness.
United says its maintenance team is now evaluating the plane, saying we will conduct a rigorous flight safety investigation into the incident, and our crew has been removed from service as part of the process.
Hold on. Are you telling me that they landed in the airport still?
Day earlier, an incident involving another United flight at Newark.
Ground United 1837, what's your emergency? It seems like someone just attacked one of our flight attendants.
A man allegedly attacking a crew member and then trying to access the cockpit.
Gentleman just attacked one of the flight attendants and trying to open the forward main cabin door.
Oh my God.
He was removed by police and taken for a psychiatric evaluation.
The crew member refused medical treatment.
Agency.
All right, can I call the spot?
Yeah, I gotta make sure I get all that handled. But let's get over into this next video and see what else we can find out and see what else we can learn from it. Let's get into it.
After a United Airlines flight collided with a truck on the New Jersey Turnpike. This happened yesterday as the plane was landing at Newark Liberty Airport. Watch and listen to this. Are you kidding me? Officials say the driver of that truck is expected to be okay. United Airlines says none of the passengers or crew members were injured in what you just witnessed. CBS News national correspondent Lilia Luciano joins us now live from Newark with the latest on this. Lilia, talk about among your worst nightmares when you're traveling near an airport. What exactly happened?
I mean, Errol, that image of the driver will be in my nightmares for a while.
Right.
What a video. Well, here's what happened. The flight was packed. It was coming from Venice, Italy, with more than 200 passengers, at least 10 crew members. According to FlightAware, the flight was flying at about 160 miles per hour when it first struck that truck that we saw, then a light pole, and then that light pole hit a Jeep on the road. The NTSB is going to be here at the airport investigating today. Dashcam video shows the terrifying moment United Airlines Flight 169 hit a delivery truck on the New Jersey Turnpike as it landed at Newark Liberty Airport Sunday.
So was that the landing gear, or was it the light pole? See, we gotta keep going into this, see what else we can find out.
Freeze the video and you can see what appears to be one of the plane's wheels outside the driver's window just before the crash. New Jersey State Police say a preliminary investigation indicates the underside of the plane and one of its landing tires collided with the tractor trailer and a light pole.
Holy, oh my goodness.
Another video shows the plane flying low to the ground, leaving this bent light pole behind. Air traffic control cleared the plane to land. Then, about an hour after landing, you can hear the controllers talk to crews on the ground about a plane that was damaged.
They felt something over the threshold, and there's a hole in the side of the airplane. So I'm going to get you on the runway here in a moment. They said it was right at the threshold, so it'll just be a minute.
Well, the plane landed.
So the pilot's fault. It's the pilot's fault. At least that's my understanding. I don't know if the equipment was wrong, but ultimately the plane was flying too low and ended up striking and almost killing someone.
Safely, former NTSB Chair Robert Sumwalt says this could have been very serious.
This airplane was just feet away from striking the ground.
He says investigators will look into whether wind, pilot fatigue after the long flight from Venice, Italy, or other factors may have caused the plane to fly so low.
As a former airline pilot, I would consider this runway to be relatively short. And so I suspect that the pilots wanted to make sure that they were not landing long.
This daily flight from Venice usually lands on one of Newark's longer runways. But because of windy conditions, the pilots were told to land on runway 29, the shortest runway at the airport.
They wanted to make sure they were putting it on the runway at the right point. But unfortunately, it appears that they got too low too soon.
Our experts, as you can see, the windy conditions could have played a role as part of the investigation, but the experts tell us that it's not an unsafe landing, but it did have a smaller margin for error. Also, that runway is not used as often, so it's an unusual event. Both the FAA and United told us in statements that they are investigating and that the plane did land safely after striking that pole.
And someone's truck. Or pole and truck, or whoever it struck something it shouldn't have. Whose fault is it? Someone's probably going to get fired. Now I don't know if you can blame the air traffic controller, because you got to think, if the winds are moving a certain direction, then yes, that is their job, is to tell them to land a certain way just to help out. Was it too dangerous for them just to keep on and land in the normal runway? That's a question. Or is it the pilots? The pilots who made a miscalculation and got too low and almost killed someone. Let's get over into the AI breakdown just to see if we can learn anything else about this whole situation. And let's jump over into it and see what we can find out. So on Sunday, May 3rd, a United Airlines Flight 169 at Boeing 767 arriving from Venice, Italy, struck a bakery delivery truck and a light pole while making a final approach to the Newark Liberty International Airport. The plane was attempting to land on runway 29 when the landing gear, tire, and underside collided with the object on the New Jersey Turnpike. So no injuries were reported among the 221 passengers and 10 crew members on board. The truck driver, Warren, sustained minor injuries from the shattered glass and was treated at a local hospital. God is looking out. Jesus. So the aircraft sustained significant damage, leading to the National Transportation Safety Board to classify the event as an accident. A light pole was knocked down and subsequently struck a Jeep traveling on the highway. Both the FAA and the NTSB have launched investigations. United Airlines have removed the flight crew from service as part of an internal safety review. So as we know, we got dash cam footage, aviation experts saying that suggested that if it had been a few feet lower, it could have resulted in a major catastrophic incident. So the security dean mentioned that the gusty winds may have been a contributing factor to the low approach. Wow. Absolutely crazy, y'all. What if you were driving your delivery truck or a delivery truck and you get hit by a plane? Most rational people, oh, my neck, I'm hurt. I need to file a lawsuit. I mean, I don't know. That's what I would do. But let me know your thoughts on that situation, and let me know if y'all disagree with anything I said. Crazy. What are the odds? And I'm happy that no one died from this situation, but it could have been a lot worse, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on that situation. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said, y'all. We're going to pivot now into our third topic we're going to be discussing today. And we're going over into a Connecticut case where we're looking at a weird situation where the Department of Child and Families, within hours of a visit, I can't remember if it's before or after, but within hours of a DCF visit, a child ended up committing suicide. And sounds like it's not the first thing that puts this whole agency into question. Let's get over into it and see what we can find out. Of course, we'll go over to the AI breakdown after this, but let's jump into it and see what we can find out, y'all.
To the Department of Children and Families today. The child advocate says she is, quote, increasingly alarmed by the quality of case practices based on several recent cases, including one we just learned about.
Chief Investigator Len Bestoff has been digging for answers on a number of high-profile DCF cases in the past year. Len, you spoke with the author of the critique, and you have more now on this new case raising questions about the DCF.
Yeah, Kevin and Amber, I mean, here we go again. We've got another case. It's hard to believe this quickly we're hearing about another one. The child advocate says this child died by apparent suicide just 1 hour after speaking with a DCF worker. The family had a long history with the department, and the child advocate says the child told the caseworker they did not feel safe and asked to come to foster care. In this letter, the child...
Whoa. That's a statement. For a child to advocate to go to foster care, and the fact that they just left them there says a lot about the agency itself, or the agent who was in charge.
Child advocate writes the family did not have stable housing and none of the kids were enrolled in school. DCF made the decision to leave the child with the parent, indicating that coming to care was not an option. The letter goes on to say OCA is alarmed at the quality of case practice observed through our reviews of critical incidents and child fatalities, some of which have garnered significant public attention and some which have not. This is the latest in a series of cases where DCF practices and protocols have been questioned. Christina Guillo says her office has been working with DCF since 2023, but has not seen adequate improvement.
We are deeply concerned. These are significant deficits in case practice.
An OCA review of in-home cases in 2024 and 2025 raised concerns with both the quality and quantity of those face-to-face interactions.
In response to the question of did all of the children in the home have documented face-to-face visits, means did the caseworker go out and meet with that child face-to-face? The answer for that was yes in about, less than 60% of the cases, which means that's not happening in 40% of the cases, which is alarming and needs to be addressed urgently.
But we have to get serious about DCF. And we really haven't been. We've been focused on other things. And that's a shame because we've had so many tragedies. You'd think that we might be able to get serious about this. And this legislature has not done that.
And the fact that a child asks them to be put in foster care, I can't tell you how rare that is. And if a DCF worker left that home knowing full well that that child did not feel safe in that home, then we have lost all credibility in our ability to keep kids safe.
100%. Your one job is to make sure the child feels safe in the foster home you put him in. But you're telling me that he specifically told you he wasn't? Asked you to take him away and you just said, nah, you got to stay here. The world is a cold place, Jesus, and a horrible place sometimes.
We are still waiting on an initial statement from DCF. Also in this report, it says this agency has crazy high turnover. Think 50% of staffers leave in 2 years. The report says these workers are overwhelmed and unable to meet expectations. That's how they feel. And you can bet this is something that's going to be on the radar screen at the Capitol for some time. Len Bestoff, NBC Connecticut Investigates. Let's send it back to you.
Deeply important reporting from Len Bestoff today. Len, thank you. Meantime, lawmakers are considering changes for the maligned agency.
And NBC Connecticut political reporter Mike Savino joins us live from the Capitol. Mike, what kinds of changes are on the table?
Well, in Amber and Kevin, this bill was already on the docket before that letter from the child advocate started to make its rounds. And in fact, talking to lawmakers this afternoon, some still didn't even know about it when they started debate. Now, this bill just moments ago got through the House of Representatives unanimously because Democrats and Republicans say a string of high-profile events over the last 12 or 13 months show that DCF needs some big changes, but it also needs support and resources from the lawmakers in this building.
I think people want accountability. I think people want to see that we are getting the answers in real time from DCF.
Lawmakers want major reforms to the Department of Children and Families, a push that goes back to last March when a Waterbury man who says he was held captive by his stepmother set fire to his home, bringing light to what he called decades of abuse and neglect. Then in October, the body of 11-year-old Mimi Torres Garcia was found dead in New Britain. She had been dead for more than a year. And last month, a 12-year-old girl was found dead in her Enfield home. DCF had involvement with all three families. This bill would create an oversight committee providing feedback to both DCF and the legislature.
To me, it's sort of
oversight is good, but that sounds like criminal charges need to be somewhere. There is no way all them children should have died when they're supposed to have case agents watching over them.
modernizing the way DCF does their job. It's recognizing that the family unit is much more complicated.
The bill calls for more training and creates an apprenticeship program for social workers. It increases stipends for foster families and more frequent check-ins from the correction department when a parolee is placed in a home with children. And the bill seeks to broaden the field of potential foster placements. If approved, DCF would need to give a reason when it denies placing the child with close family friends, also called fictive kin.
Many people have written to us saying that they wanted to take possession and take over guardianship of their loved ones and that they were denied.
Republicans wanted more reporting from DCF, and lawmakers say they don't anticipate much money in the budget to help beef up staffing this year. But they say this bill is just a first step.
We can't take a big bite out of the apple. We're taking a pretty significant bite here. This is the most comprehensive changes that we've seen for this agency out of this committee in quite some time.
Now that approval means this bill now comes here to the Senate with a week left in the session. It also seeks to set parameters around virtual visits. If a child who is in DCF contact is out of state for at least 14 days, DCF would have to contact that state's child welfare agency and try to coordinate in-person visits. That would be the priority, and virtual interviews would only be allowed as a last resort. Live from the Capitol, Mike Savino, NBC Connecticut News.
This is a crazy situation, y'all. Now, they did mention about increasing the stipends for the families who agree to be foster parents. Now, that sounds good and everything, but that doesn't sound like that was the problem to me. The problem was that the whole system, the DSF system in Connecticut, lacks funding, they're too overwhelmed to watch over the children. Now, do I think there's horrible people in this world who neglected their job? Yes, there's probably yes. Now, there's some who physically were overwhelmed and could not handle it. Yes, that's a possibility as well. So I don't know if increasing the budget for the families themselves would solve the problem that they're facing. it might even make a bigger problem where people are just trying to get more kids in, which is already a problem in general. Get more kids and just neglect them in general and just get money from the government or the state. But let's get over into this next video where we talk about, it looks like that a possible problem could be that the remote work. But let's get over into it.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here at 4. I'm Kevin Nathan.
And I'm Amber Diaz. A strongly worded memo about the Department of Children and Families mentions teleworking or working from home by DCF staffers up to 80% of their work week.
Chief Investigator Len Bestoff drills down on this with an exclusive take from a longtime former DCF employee. Len.
Yeah, Kevin and Amber, that's someone we talked with a few months back, and he had some really interesting takeaways we're going to share with you here in a moment. And when you talk about teleworking, this idea of teleworking got going during the pandemic. It's actually in our state's labor agreement with state worker unions. There are questions, though, if this is a good thing for every agency, like the DCF, which has high turnover and a lot of inexperienced staffers. DCF social workers still go out in the field for court appearances, in-home visits, and child foster home placements, for example. But during the 80% of the week they can telework, they start and end their day at home. Every 6 months, staffers must reapply for permission and can lose it for poor performance.
We think that's having a significant impact on case practice and supervision.
In a letter critical of the agency, the state child advocate suggests allowing telework only if staffers can meet specific data-driven benchmarks.
And that may sound harsh to some people, but we think it's really important that in-office dynamic is important, and it makes sure that folks are there and able to get the work done and getting the support they need from their coworkers.
Don't just take the child advocate's word. A former longtime DCF employee still in child welfare spoke exclusively with NBC Connecticut Investigates.
No telework.
No telework.
Just doesn't function on a number of levels.
The conversations I've had with multiple people in the judicial system, as well as current workers, many of them believe that. And I think that's one of the steps that will help this agency get back to where it was.
We asked leading legislators where they stand on teleworking by DCF supervisors, staff, and social workers.
They're not going in the office to support each other at the water cooler. There's no training, there's no interaction. They're all working in silos.
I expect the new oversight committee to take a look at that right away.
Here's more on why this teleworking is raising concern. According to the Child Advocate's report, a review of in-home cases in 2024 and 2025 noted that face-to-face interactions did not occur in about 40% of those cases, something that the Child Advocate says is alarming and needs to be addressed urgently. Len Bestoff, NBC Connecticut Investigates. Let's send it back to you.
This is a crazy case, y'all. But the main thing is, what do we think needs to be done? Who's the problem? What system failure is happening? But I did want to get more into that case and hear a little bit more about that case that died within an hour after the DCF visit, because that's a wild situation. So a report on April 30th, 2026 revealed that a child in Connecticut died by apparent suicide within an hour of a visit from a caseworker from DCF. During the home visit, the child explicitly told DCF caseworker that they did not feel safe and requested to be taken into foster care. Despite the child's plea, the caseworker decided to leave the child with their parents, allegedly stating that coming into care was not an option at this time. What do you mean not an option at this time? I thought if an emergency happens, there's someplace they can go. Isn't that the whole point of the foster system? Don't y'all have a place for any kid that y'all are looking after? If an emergency happens, they need to go. They can't just stay there. So the child ended up dying roughly an hour after the caseworker left the home. The child advocacy group noted that the family had a lengthy history with the agency, lacked stable housing, and none of the children in the home were enrolled in school. So acting child advocacy, Christian So the alarming deficit in the DCF case practices reported that face-to-face visits were less than 60%. So like we talked about before. So, and then the immediate response to these tragedies, we got the House of Representatives unanimously passing House Bill 5004, a bill that designated to increase oversight and transparency within the DCF. It creates a new oversight group, and the bill also mandates to immediately remove children from unsafe out-of-home placements under specific conditions. Now, just get me, I thought that was already a thing. I thought that if an emergency happened and a child needed to be removed, they had a place to be removed to. It wasn't like, oh, wait a second, I'll come back when I got a place ready for you. No, there should already be a place. That is what the taxpayers are paying for. Now, this is a crazy situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. The child begged to be taken away. And they said, we just don't got a place for you. Absolutely tragic, y'all. We're going to pivot now into our fourth topic we're going to be discussing today. And it sounds like we got enough time for a fifth, or looks like we got enough time for a fifth. We're going over to this next case, which is equally tragic. So it looks like back in 2022, we had a grandmother who forced a 4-year-old to drink a bottle of whiskey. And she has most recently been found guilty of manslaughter. Let's get over into it and see what we can find out about this whole case. And of course, we'll go over to the AI breakdown just to find out a little bit more information about it. Remember, y'all, the best way to show your support is always just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Let's get over into it.
New tonight, a jury has found Roxanne Record guilty of manslaughter in the death of her 4-year-old granddaughter.
She forced the child to drink alcohol as a form of punishment 4 years ago. And tonight, News 2's Haley Jefferson explains how the jury appeared to be torn.
Michael, Sylvia, Roxanne Record was visibly shaking in the courtroom as she awaited her fate in the case. Once the jury's verdict was reached, she began to get emotional. Back on April 21st of 2022, police found 4-year-old China Record unresponsive at a home on Wallace Street in Baton Rouge. Record's grandmother, Roxanne, is accused of forcing her to drink a half a bottle of whiskey as a form of punishment. At the time, Roxanne and Record's mother, Khadijah, told detectives they were upset China took a sip out of the bottle that was left on the counter. In court, prosecutors say the alcohol was consumed 1 to 3 hours before Record's death. Her blood alcohol content level was 0.68. Following closing arguments, the jury deliberated for over 6 hours.
My biggest concern was that the case would hang up, that it would be a hung jury. And that would have been really hard to try this case again because we had children witnesses and it was just a difficult case to get together.
The jury stopped several times with questions for the judge, asking for any evidence they can provide related to the case and for the definitions of second-degree murder and manslaughter to be reread.
They deliberated for a long time. They put a lot of thought, effort into it. It was a tough case, and I think they made a good decision.
The defense called this situation a tragic accident, claiming Record was tall enough to reach the counter the alcohol was on. Khadijah Record remains in the parish prison tonight on first-degree murder and cruelty charges in connection to her daughter's death. She's scheduled to appear back in court next month.
We wanted to try this case first, and that one's next on the agenda.
Sentencing for Roxanne is scheduled for August 10th. She faces up to 40 years in prison.
How I want to know how they know that she was forced to drink it, because that's the biggest thing. But if you know for a fact that they forced her to drink it as a punishment, I don't see any question of charging these with these crimes. I don't see any question in charging the grandmother and the mother with a murder, manslaughter, murder. What is happening? When did forcing a 4-year-old to drink alcohol become a punishment? Give them a pop. Boom. That would have been enough. drinking a half bottle of whiskey. You're sick individuals. Let's get over into this AI breakdown just to see if we can find out anything else about this whole case, because that's a tragic. So as we know, in the tragic case in Baton Rouge, we had the Roxanne, 57, was found guilty of manslaughter on May 1st for a 2020 death of a 4-year-old granddaughter, China. The incident occurred on April 21st, 2022. Records became enraged after she believed the child took a sip of whiskey from the bottle on the kitchen counter. As punishment, she forced the girl to her knees and made her drink the remainder 750 milliliter bottle of 80 proof Canadian malt whiskey. She should have been put. She should have gotten murder charges, because that's crazy. So China died from acute alcohol poisoning. An autopsy revealed her blood alcohol content was 0.68, more than 8 times the legal limit for an adult driver. The child's mother, Kiaja, 29, allegedly watched the punishment without intervening. Authorities stated the family did not seek medical help until the girl had stopped breathing and was foaming at the mouth. The grandmother was found guilty of manslaughter, and she faces up between 10 and 40 years in prison. Her formal sentencing is scheduled for August 10th. The mother was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and cruelty to a juvenile. Her trial is expected to take place later this summer. Why the grandmother charged less than the mother? I mean, I understand she's the mother, she's the sole responsibility of her, but it sounds like the grandmother was the one who caused the death. At least that's my thinking. So proceedings. So I did want to find out more about the mother. So the Kiaja, whatever you say her name is, 29, is being held separately. Her trial is being held separately from her mother. She's being charged with first-degree murder and cruelty. Her court appearance is scheduled for June 29th, 2026. Her trial is expected to be sent later in the summer. Oh, that's her next appearance. Okay. So during the recent trial of her murder, Roxanne and several details emerged. Failure to intervene. Prosecutors alleged that she watched the lethal punishment unfold without attempting to stop her mother or help her daughter. Evidence presented indicates that neither woman sought medical care until she had already started not breathing and foaming at the mouth. Investigators noted that the mother provided multiple inconsistent statements during the investigation. And then ultimately she ended up admitting to seeing her mother leave the kitchen with the bottle of whiskey and seeing it empty when she returned, yet still failed to act before the child became unresponsive. Defense attorneys for Roxanne previously suggested that the grandmother initially took full responsibility to protect Kiaja from being taken away from her other children. The defense in the grandmother's trial also successfully argued for the lesser charge of manslaughter by injecting doubt about whether an adult was seen actually pouring the liquor, a strategy that influenced the upcoming proceedings, that will influence the upcoming proceedings. So that is why no one actually seen her force her to do that. This poor little girl. She drinks a sip of her grandmother's whiskey that was left on the table with a child around who could walk around and grab stuff. She took a sip, or she accused her of taking a sip. Then, as punishment, she told her to get on her knees and started to force feed her a bottle of whiskey. And the blood alcohol content was 8 times higher than that of an adult. 8 times higher than the legal limit of an adult. There are some people who should never be among free people, and these two are one of them. The grandmother who forced her to do it and the mother who didn't intervene. Absolutely tragic call. Let me know your thoughts on that situation. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Absolutely tragic. Talking too much. But let's pivot over. We got one more topic we'll get over into since we got enough time to get into it. The next topic we got to get over into is they're getting younger and younger by the day. We have an 11-year-old boy in Milwaukee who is accused of shooting at a city building inspector during an attempted carjacking. 11 years old. Let's get over into it and see what we can find out about this case. We got 2 videos to look at, and then we'll go over to the AI breakdown just to find out a little bit more information about the case. I wonder what his parents were like. That is my main question. But let's get over into it and see what we can find out.
We start this afternoon with that breaking news and the building inspector who became a crime victim. Police say an 11-year-old tried to steal the inspector's vehicle and fired a gunshot.
That inspector managed to dodge being shot, but police say a bullet grazed that person's coat. It happened Wednesday afternoon on a busy Wisconsin Avenue near 32nd Street. That's where 12 News' Hannah Hilliard is leading us off live this afternoon.
Hannah, the inspector was looking at a property.
Oh, right, Deanna and Derek. This city worker was already with MPD checking out a nuisance property here at 32nd and Wisconsin. That is when police say this group of children tried to steal the building inspector's car, an 11-year-old boy shooting at him. Now, the Department of Neighborhood Services says this building inspector with 17 years of experience is okay, but the bullet did graze his jacket. Milwaukee police say the group of children took off in a different car, eventually leading officers on a chase. It ended in a crash at 12th and State. Police arresting the driver, just 14 years old, plus the 11-year-old shooter and a 16-year-old. We spoke to one neighbor who did not want to be on camera, but says she saw the police swarm her street.
You've seen the fire truck, ambulance pull up. Everything got shut down on our neighborhood, and it was crazier because my daughter gets off the bus. Within 10 minutes, she was getting off the bus. She walks down right over here. So the fact that, you know, we got 11-year-olds running around shooting at people and stealing cars, it's crazy.
First things first, y'all. My main question I always ask, where are the parents? Where are the parents stopping this from happening? Where are the parents who are raising their children correctly? This child is 11 years old. Who at 11-year-old thought of shooting up a car, trying to carjack? Either the parents aren't aware of what he's doing and just don't care. Either the neighborhood he's in is having a bad influence on him. But at the end of the day, something needs to change. Or young kids are going to keep going to jail and never get a chance to truly grow up. Let's keep going into this, though.
Hannah, the teens did not get away with that inspector's vehicle.
They did not, Deanna, but police say the car they did use to try and evade them was also stolen. Police say they did find a gun inside that stolen car as well. Again, police have arrested these 3 children who are right now awaiting possible charges.
Very scary.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I hope they get the max. You need to nip it in the bud, and you got to show strength. You cannot be soft on crime.
To our other top story today, an 11-year-old boy now charged with firing a gunshot while trying to carjack a city inspector.
Yeah, 12 News investigates learned the victim was on the job in his personal vehicle. And police say they eventually spotted the 11-year-old and 2 others in a stolen car at 12th and McKinley, and that vehicle crashed near 12th and State.
12 News' Nick Bohr joining us live where it all started at 32nd and Wisconsin. And Nick, you were learning how dangerous this actually was.
Right, the bullet that was fired allegedly by that 11-year-old so close to the inspector that it ripped his jacket. That's how close he came to being hit. He was using his own car coming out of this building here, this apartment that was under inspection. This car had city magnets on it parked out here. That is raising an issue once again with that city policy. A crash scene Wednesday at 12th and State, the end of a chaotic few minutes. Milwaukee police say the 3 kids inside
Quick, what does the policy have to do with the kids jacking it? Are they saying that the policy is wrong because if he was in a city vehicle, he wouldn't have got jacked? Yes, most likely he wouldn't have, but that doesn't stop the core issue that we got 11-year-olds jacking cars with guns.
Tried to carjack a Milwaukee Department of Neighborhood Services inspector at 32nd in Wisconsin, with an 11-year-old shooting at him before fleeing. The kids took off in a different stolen car, a 14-year-old behind the wheel, but he crashed 3 blocks later, and they were all 3 arrested. A 16-year-old boy was also with the 11-year-old shooter.
He is a danger to himself. He is a danger absolutely to the community. How this young man at his age ended up with a loaded firearm.
The prosecutor incredulous this afternoon in children's court as the 11-year-old made his first court appearance and was ordered held without bail based on the violence of the encounter with the inspector.
And he's cursed at by this juvenile in curse words that it's astonishing at his age. He knows voices and shoots at the victim as if how dare the victim try to protect his property.
As the juvenile cases make their way through children's court, the near shooting raises an issue that's been raised before, the use of personal vehicles by city inspectors. 9 years ago, the head of the DNS said the long-standing practice would be studied after Inspector Greg Ziggy Ziskevich was killed on the job during an attempted carjacking of his personal car.
Everything's in play. We certainly are reviewing lots of policies and procedures.
And again, 5 years ago, when a 41-year-old housing inspector was shot during another attempted carjacking. She survived. 12 News has learned DNS is now in the early stages of a safety review following this latest carjacking attempt that nearly ended in tragedy.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've said this. I just said this. I don't know if the policy is wrong, but it sounds like the neighborhoods they're in is not good neighborhoods. They're getting carjacked. So I don't know if the policy is the problem. It's the places they're at and the police presence. I don't know, the parents not looking after the kids. But the policy does not sound like the true issue here.
Nick, you are already hearing from the Common Council and the mayor about that policy.
Right, Alderwoman Charlene Moore this afternoon telling me she absolutely would support a review of the policy of inspectors using their own vehicles for city work, which she believes could be more likely to be targeted by potential car thieves. The mayor's office also telling me this afternoon they confirming the DNS safety review that is already underway, adding that the mayor would certainly support improving staff safety.
Now, I don't know if he's just out of touch with times, or maybe I just got different life experience than him. But seeing a city inspector's cars, I would think that it would be less likely to be carjacked. It's not going to be a opposite thing. No. Someone sees a city car inspector, no, they're going to stay away from that. They want civilians. That's why they went after someone who isn't in the car, who isn't in a city government car or city official's car. But let's get over into the AI breakdown just to finish it up and see what else we can find out about this whole case. 11 years old, y'all. On April 29th, 2026, an 11-year-old boy allegedly shot at a Milwaukee city building inspector during an attempted carjacking. The inspector was unharmed, though the bullet grazed his jacket. It happened on 32nd and Wisconsin around 3:30 p.m. The inspector and a special enforcement officer, a special enforcement officer for the Department of Neighborhood Services, caught the suspect attempting to steal his personal vehicle, which was marked with city magnets. According to the prosecutors, the 11-year-old cursed at the inspector before firing a shot as the inspector tried to protect his property. After the shooting, the suspect fled in another stolen car. About 30 minutes later, police spotted the vehicle and engaged in a chase that ended when the suspect crashed at 12th Street. So here we know the suspects. We got the 11-year-old boy identified as a shooter. He was ordered held without bond. We got the 14-year-old getaway driver, and then we got the 16-year-old passenger in the vehicle. A firearm was recovered, and the vehicle used in the getaway was confirmed to be stolen. Now, here's a question. Do you think that the 14 and 16-year-old was forcing this 11-year-old to do it, or is he a part of that life? Did he want to do it? Did he want to go out with them? Because I think 11 years old, you understand what something is illegal and what it's not. You understand the type of life that is happening. You obviously understand what a gun is. You understand taking someone's life. So a firearm was recovered and the vehicle used in the getaway car was confirmed stolen. Wow. So what are the legal proceedings for the 11-year-old in the children's court? So legal proceedings. So it happened on May 1st under Wisconsin's Juvenile Justice Code. The system focuses on rehabilitation, like we always know, rather than punishment, though the serious charges can result in a long secured sentence. So his first appearance happened on May 1st, where he didn't get any bail. Prosecutors argued that the boy was an absolute danger to the community. Due to the juvenile court's rule, the child's name has not been released. Following the initial hearing, the case will likely proceed through several mandating stages. We have the plea hearing, the waiver consideration, fact-finding hearing, disposition, goal, potential outcome. The whole goal is rehabilitation and accountability. They're trying to get him to change his ways. Now, at 11-year-olds, can he change his way? Hopefully. But he might just be another bad kid. But let me know your thoughts on that situation, y'all. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. That's a crazy situation. But an 11-year-old's already cussing and shooting at people trying to steal their cars. Who's to blame? Is it the people he's around or is it the parents? Let me know your thoughts on that situation, y'all. But that is it for the show today, y'all. Like always, thank you for whoever watches. Thank you for watching later now. And the best way is always to show your support is just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. And I will see y'all again tomorrow at 6 o'clock where we go over more topics for things that we have to discuss. Now, if you ever have any suggestions, please send it over to my email. It's acreviewstheworld@gmail.com. A dot after the A and a dot after the C. But you already know I got to play that outro. Peace.